But that's how that ridiculous amount of glitter turned out. Super shiny. What's up, guys? Travis here with Fry Brothers Fishing, and today we're going to be painting the internet hate bait in a trout pattern. Now, I am throwing 2 layers of pearl white on this, and I'm skipping ahead on the first one, so you guys are just coming in for layer number 2. That way you don't have to sit there and watch it. But this did get a pearl white base. They do come in white right off the bat. These aren't transparent baits when you buy them, so it's pretty nice to skip a color to paint. Okay, so color number 2, Wicked Silver. $6.99 for a 2-ounce bottle. If you're going to paint baits because you think it'll save money, don't paint baits. It costs a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the white on the belly, and I'm just going to do silver sides. Just like that shad pattern on my trout, I like my silver to be pretty thick. Well, I didn't get my heat gun to my bait fast enough, and my paints ran. You can see it on the tail, you can see it on the lateral line, you can see it on the face. But I'm going to be throwing this into all sorts of gunk. Big logs, trees, rock piles, so I don't really care. It's my personal bait. I'm not trying to sell the thing. So, don't run your paints. It's the lesson of the day. Use these colors if you would like to paint a trout, but don't run your paints. That's just what happens when I try to paint too fast. It's going to happen if you start out painting. It's inevitable. So make sure you keep your heat gun moving. If you don't keep your heat gun moving, what will happen is your paint will get too hot and it will start to crack. And you can also completely destroy your bait. Like, you can warp it because it's plastic. Okay, so this is where we deviate from the shad pattern. The next color is Pearl Red. And I say deviate from the shad pattern because I'm assuming if you're seeing this, you watched the shad video. So I went 4 parts Pearl Red, 3 parts Wicked Reducer. Oh, got some magnets on there. We're just going to run that lateral line. I don't like mine too red. I use the pearl red because when it mixes on top of this, it looks pinkish. Actually, I may just leave that. So a little airbrushing quick tip. If you have a lot left over, pearl paints can usually be thinned down pretty well. Put some reducer in your hopper, mix it up. I really didn't have that much, but I still probably had 3 drops of pearl red. I put 6 drops of reducer, and now instead of wasting it, I'm thinning my whole bottle and I'm dumping a good portion back in. And now I'm basically empty. So, next step we're going to do is the scales. And for that, I have this handy dandy thingy-majiggy. Yeah, that's right. Handy dandy thingy-majiggy. It's literally a chunk of plastic with a rectangle cut out and scaling material, which I'm not really sure where that came from, taped into it. I would suggest not using Gorilla Tape on this, because that's what I'm using, and it's not great. However, it gets the job done. That's all I'm really worried about. And I did hit it with a heat gun, so it's not super tight anymore. But magnets will fix that problem. Just like these binder clips. So you see I have this gap here. Little magnet. Put one on one side. Put one on the other side. Then move the tail down. So we're going to get two other magnets, which are conveniently placed to my right. One side, other side. Now it's pretty stable. These are all nice and tight. Roll it over. These aren't quite, so we're going to get more magnets. Actually, we're going to try to roll these. Getting better. More magnets, more magnets. Where are more magnets? There's more magnets. If you guys start painting, magnets will become your best friend. Alright, so nice and tight. No major movement. Nice and tight. No major movement. These magnets also make it so the bait can't try to fall that way, along with the nose hitting the edge of this. So we're going to get some gold in the gun and start painting. So I'm using Wicked Gold, and I'm just going to do above that lateral line. And you can make it as gold as you want. My personal preference is it just shows up. And when I say just shows up, I mean pretty good. Shows up pretty good. Flip it over and paint above that lateral line again. This side definitely looks like I got it a little heavier. So I'll flip it over really carefully so it doesn't shift. Do it again. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to hit that with heat gun and I'll get back to you guys. So I'm not 100% sure that it's dry, so I'm going to pick it up the hemostats. Make sure you get a nice clip, and up. So we've got our nice gold scales, our pretty pink, our silver flash, and our pearl white. Next step, I'm going to be shaking up some root beer to kind of fade out some of that gold because that is vibrant. Alright guys, so now for another little painting pro tip. This likes to move around since it's a jointed bait. You don't really want that moving when you're trying to paint even lines. So you take your binder clip, go between the little space here. It's kind of a pain to get to, but you can get to it. And now your bait doesn't move. Alright, so we mixed up our candy root beer. And we're going to just put a nice little layer up here. Kind of separate some of that gold so it's nice and gold down here. Then like an old gold on top. So the next color we're going to use is a candy racing green. I just kind of like a little bit of green on my trout. Not a lot. Just enough to throw it off a bit. And we're going to do a real light layer. All it's really going to do is add some extra shimmer. Yep, that's enough green. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of backtracking. We're going to go back to the Wicked Silver, because if you look at this bait right now, it seems pretty bland. So what we're going to do is we're going to add silver cheeks, and that's going to make all the other colors just kind of pop out a bit. Okay guys, so we're going back to candy black, and there's a couple ways you can put spots on baits. My personal preference, I kind of like the random chaoticness, so I like to take a cheap paintbrush and splatter the bait versus sitting there and going like this and putting individual dots. That's fully up to you. Like most custom painting, completely a preference thing, so you just barely, and I mean barely, dip the end. I like to test it on my hand and then just start splattering away. It's kind of a slow process, but to me it seems way better than putting them on one by one. I've got like 50 dots on there already. They're pretty small, but that just depends on how you like to splatter. more paint you have on the end of your brush, the heavier your splatters will be. More prominent the dots will come out. I'm looking for good measure. Even though it's going to get hit with black, I like to come up and make sure I get like the top, like the shoulder area. Back to candy black. We're going to throw it right on top of the bait. Kind of just make the whole bait come together. So for the tail, I like to get overspray on it so it darkens up the tail and it leaves kind of like light ridges. Not my best job ever. Okay, time for some eyeballs. So remember, if you're on a nice rough surface like this, get some nice smooth plastic. I just use the bags from the paintbrushes. It works out pretty well. If I really want to, I can sit here and spin it, and it doesn't scratch the bait. So I already put the super glue in the eyeball, and for this bait, just because I want the black spots to show up a bit more on the paint job, I'm going to use black eyeball. I really like black eyes on fishing lures. Some more super glue. Oh, this is gonna be a mess. Glitter is a mess. Alright guys, there she is. Super bright, obnoxious, glitter covered trout. I'm gonna hang this thing up, let it dry out for 24 hours, and we'll check it out tomorrow.